Hello, everybody. We are back for episode 10 of North in the Six. I'm Brad, and this is Mike, and we've got a lot of exciting topics to talk to you about today, including topics on all three Toronto teams today. So first things first, we're just going to say quickly a little shout out to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are playing very well against the Montreal Canadiens, and go Leafs go.
Yeah, definitely rooting for the Leafs and definitely thinking about John Tavares. Very scary injury in game one. Neck snap back, concussion. There's a really, really scary moment there for a minute on the ice. So definitely thinking on the Leafs captain. I know a lot of people in the GTA are as well. We're going to get into a few topics. We'll talk about the Jays a little bit, the future of one of Toronto's greatest athletes, and then a couple pressing free agency things to worry about in the NFL. We're going to start with the Jays. And it's been kind of a roller coaster season to start. I know it's a little bit of a slow start, a lot of injuries coming out of spring, a lot of questions in the rotation. The offense started slow. There was a lot of solo home runs, a lot of swing and miss, a lot of strikeouts. The offense has come around in the past a little bit. It seems the pitching is starting to fall off. So our first question really is, at this point in the season, what is the Blue Jays' biggest need? What needs to change the most going forward?
Okay, so I'll address this one briefly here. To me, I think the biggest thing they have to address after watching the first third of the season now is, it's going to sound cliche, but can they stay healthy? I mean, they haven't played one game yet this year with their entire lineup in place. And it seems like as soon as one guy comes back, another guy goes on the IL. As soon as one guy's getting close to coming back, then there's a setback. And if this is going to be the theme of the season, going from this point forward until the end of September, it's going to be very challenging for them to get into the playoffs. And I mean, again, I've mentioned this in past episodes, George Springer, when is he going to play? We are still waiting. It's now 2 months into the year, and he's only played a few games for the team. And again, I want the guy to be healthy. I think he's going to be a great player. But if the team really wants to do well this year, make the playoffs, they need him healthy. And they just need, whether if it's the injury gods or whether if it's strength and conditioning, something needs to change here, because they're one of the top teams in the league in terms of man games lost and amount of IL stints. So I think that's what needs to change.
Yeah, we're at the point with George Springer where it's now, is he even going to play half of the season? Like, that's what it's come to. A couple episodes ago, we were thinking, okay, maybe a week or two, you're probably still in that 130 to 140 game range. We gave him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm done with that. Like, at this point, it's getting a little ridiculous with the way he wasn't really able to get his body in shape coming into the season. So injuries are definitely a big thing, and he's obviously at the top of the list for disappointment from injuries. If the Jays want to win and be contenders for the division, they're going to need a bullpen. Like, this bullpen is absolute trash, in my opinion. The numbers have been decent so far, but this is just a ticking time bomb. Like, this thing is ready to explode and fall off a cliff any second, and it kind of already has begun to do that. Like, going into the season, the rotation was one thing, there was question marks there, but Shapiro and Atkins, like, these guys would be good used car salesmen because they're just selling a bunch of junk and trying to pass it off as good. Like, I look at the bullpen, and there's not one person in that pen that has any sort of successful history in the MLB. David Phelps, I'll give him a little bit there. He's now lost for the season. And I like the Kirby Yates signings. I did. But coming off a major surgery not too long ago, there was question marks there. And then after that, like, you're telling me guys like Rafael Dolis, Julian Merriweather, even a guy like Jordan Romano, who is pitching well this year, there's no track record of any success in the MLB in that bullpen. They're expecting guys like Tyler Chatwood to have a big year in the pen, and he's been good so far. But these guys can't sustain it. Like, Travis Bergen walked in 3 straight batters to lose the game the other day. There's just no reliable options, in my opinion, in the bullpen right now.
Yeah, so what you're saying is teams are starting to figure these guys out then, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the walks are piling up. Hard contact against these guys is piling up. Again, first month of the season, yeah, okay, I haven't faced this guy before in the league. What's he throwing? How does his fastball look? Is it two-seam? Is it slider? Is it cutting? I'm not sure. They get more information on these pitchers, they're going to start lighting them up. And that's happened to guys like Trent Thornton. Rafael Dolis has been hit hard sometimes. Travis Bergen walks her up. So yeah, we've seen in the past in the playoffs, you need a strong bullpen. You need high leverage guys in the back end of that bullpen. And right now, I barely see anybody. I'll give Romano a little bit of credit. He's been pretty good, but after that, I'm not afraid of any of those relievers.
Yeah, and I guess as the season goes on and on, teams will just get more and more video on these guys and really start to lock them up more and more, right? How do you feel about the rotation?
The rotation's kind of what we thought it was going to be, right? We even did the episode when who's the number 2 behind Hyun-Jin Ryu, and Robbie Ray has kind of taken that role, and he's been pretty good. His walks are down, which has plagued him in the past, and he's still keeping his strikeouts high, but he's throwing hard. Like, he's really giving her. He's up to 96, 97. He's touched 98. Steven Matz has been okay, up and down. He's had 4 or 5 quality starts, but then he's got rocked a few times. Nate Pearson's on his way to being one of the bigger busts in Toronto recently. I hope he's not going to be that and he can figure it out. But yeah, the rotation to me has just been average so far. I'm hoping a guy like Alek Manoah, who's making his major league debut tomorrow, will inject some youth and some consistency in that rotation, where I thought a guy like Ross Stripling could do that. And his ERA is almost at 6 right now. He had a good outing last time out, but yeah, they need help in that 3, 4, 5 spot in the rotation.
See, I keep thinking it's gonna have to. I think we said this a few episodes ago. I think they sort of have to hang around long enough that they can get into the trade market and try to get a guy like a David Price, like the Jays team did in 2015.
Yeah. Well, it'd be a great number 2 in the rotation right now is Marcus Stroman, or even a Taijuan Walker. I know he just went on the IL, but there's mutual interest between Taijuan Walker and the Jays in the offseason. I don't know how it didn't work out for them. He went to the Mets and he's pitching really well. Again, just went on the IL, but ERA, just over 2 so far this year. So he would have been great in this rotation with Ryu and Ray and even a Matt. So I don't get that one.
So Mike says pitching help, I say injury help. And I think they do go hand in hand. Good news is with the Blue Jays, they're not far back right now. They're still kind of hanging around. We'll have to see what the month of June brings. And we'll address this again come Canada weekend to see if the team will be buyers or sellers as we get into the second half of the season. Going to our second topic here, question we got here is, it's been very popular and talked about lately, is with the Raptors missing the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, what is the future of Raptors franchise cornerstone Kyle Lowry?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in these next couple of months with the draft lottery, with the draft, with Masai Ujiri's future. I think Masai Ujiri plays a big factor into Kyle Lowry's decision and what he's going to do going forward with the franchise. If Masai comes back, they get a nice little pick in the draft. They're back in Toronto next year. I think they can really, really interest Kyle Lowry coming back on a 2-year deal, 2-year, $50 million, something like that. I wouldn't see it any longer than that. And that way he probably retires as a Raptor. But I think there's some things that need to happen before any of that negotiations can happen with his contract.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think a lot of it hinges on Raptors president Masai Ujiri as well. And it's almost like the who came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing, right? Who's going to be the first guy between Masai Ujiri and Kyle Lowry to re-sign with the Raptors? Or is management thinking, you know what? Is it time to just restart, rebuild this thing over again? I really, really, really hope that's not the case, because they've had such tremendous success the last 7-8 years now. And even though they missed the playoffs, again, to your point, they didn't play in Toronto this year. I really think if they can come back in Toronto in full gears for the 2021-2022 season, they're going to be welcomed back with big arms. I think the Scotiabank Arena is going to be packed every night. And I think they'll have a team that could potentially compete for a playoff spot again. With the state of the team not being able to play in Toronto the last season and a half, essentially, I think the franchise, I know it's about winning, and you don't want to necessarily be loyal to a player if it hinges you from winning. Hence why the DeMar DeRozan Kawhi Leonard trade happened, right? In this case, though, I think it's different. I think they owe it to Kyle Lowry to bring him back on a 1 year or a 2 year deal, especially if he wants to be back. If he doesn't want to be back, that's a different story. It's a completely different story. But if he wants to be back, the franchise owes it to him to bring him back because he needs a proper send-off song. I would say he's the greatest Raptor of all time. I have Kawhi Leonard number 2. I have Kyle Lowry number 1. And to know if he wasn't to come back and his last game ever as a Raptor in Toronto was before COVID, I think that would just be a shame.
Yeah, and I don't think he wants to end his Raptor, amazing experience, his time with the Raptors, with this past season that just happened. They fell off. Their record was horrible. I don't think he wants to end it like that. If Masai comes back, they get this draft pick, a high draft pick, maybe go out and sign a big man who can rebound. Like, I think the team is right back to being really competitive. So I don't think it's like, I'm re-signing kind of in the last couple of years of my career to just go to a team that's rebuilding. No, I don't think there is a rebuild. If Masai comes back and then you add those key pieces, I think Lowry's back on a pretty good team. Yeah.
So your prediction is that he'll be back in some shape or form?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I could see him back, definitely. Again, give it a couple months and we'll see, but I like the chances of Kyle Lowry coming back. So.
Yeah, me too. I think he'll be back in some shape or form on a 2-year deal. I think Masai Ujiri's going to be back too. I've got a gut feeling that they'll do the right thing, have those guys back, and it'll just come the regular season opener for 2021-2022. That arena will be packed, and it'll just delight Raptors fans across the country all over again.
Most of the NFL offseason has centered around Aaron Rodgers and where he may end up. The situation in Green Bay continues to unfold pretty much every day. Something that's kind of flying under the radar, though, in the last little while has been the Julio Jones trade talk and possible suitors that might go after him. So the question is, where does Julio Jones land up, if not in Atlanta next year?
Well, so how this news broke out was on the popular FS1 show, Undisputed. I happened to be listening to it while working, and two legends, Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless, were debating the topic of Julio Jones because I guess he was caught, somebody got a picture of him in a Dallas Cowboys sweater. So they debated and talking about, is Julio Jones wanting to go to the Dallas Cowboys? So, of course, Skip Bayless, who's a big-time Dallas Cowboys fan, stated that, I think Julio Jones really wants to come here. And Shannon Sharpe was saying, not a chance. I guarantee you he doesn't want to come here. So Skip was saying, you don't know that. And Shannon said, I'll call him right now. And I've never seen this before, but he called Julio Jones on the air on his cell phone live. Julio answered the phone, and Shannon Sharpe straight up asked him, so Julio, where do you want to go? Do you want to leave Atlanta? Do you want to go to the Cowboys? And he said, no, I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here. And the internet exploded. That's how the leak got out. And then he said to him, Shannon Sharpe said to him, well, if you go to the Dallas Cowboys, you ain't going to win nothing there. And Julio Jones said, you know that, man. I don't want to go there. I want to go to So sorry, Cowboys fans. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be going to Dallas.
That phone call wasn't scripted like a Real Housewives episode?
It might have been, but it was very, very funny. It was just incredible to see. So all the sports bloggers all caught it, right? And the Atlanta Falcons now, I think they're maybe going through a PR nightmare, maybe not, but they're aware now that Julio Jones, him and his agent have said that they are demanding a trade, and he's looking to go to a winning team. He's 32 years old, still a really good receiver, probably has a couple really good years left, but he's been hinged by injuries the last couple of years, so teams would be taking a gamble. So anyway, to answer Mike's question, what's the best landing spot for Julio Jones? I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. And why? Justin Herbert was an incredible quarterback for them last year in his rookie year. And I think the Chargers, they were 7-9 last year. They easily could have been 9-7 or 10-6. They lost a lot of close games. I think that offense can really erupt and be a tier 1 offense if they added a guy like Julio Jones to go along with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to load up that receiving core. And again, they have Austin Eckler leading the charge at running back. They've got a pretty good defense. I think the Chargers, I don't even think they're a dark horse contender. I could see them being a really good fit. They've also got significant cap space in the league. And yeah, I just think Justin Herbert could really benefit from having Julio Jones, and this would help him avoid a sophomore slump.
Yeah, I think Julio Jones is tired of not getting the ball in the red zone. I think he's pretty much fed up with Matt Ryan and the offensive philosophy in Atlanta. It's, racks up yards every single year, racks up receptions, gets to the red zone, and it's like he's a ghost. He doesn't exist anymore. And we've seen all these other receivers over the past how many years take touchdowns away from him. So I honestly think he's fed up with the team not winning and not receiving targets in the red zone. I think he ends up on the Tennessee Titans, and I'm picturing that offense. They lost Corey Davis. You throw in Julio Jones to go with A.J. Brown, like Ryan Tannehill will be salivating at that. Still having Derrick Henry in the backfield. A couple big targets for Tannehill. Julio Jones, 6'2", 6'3", great arms, can really extend to the ball. A.J. Brown's pretty big body. He might be more the speed guy. So I see Tennessee as a real possibility for Julio Jones.
That's fair. I actually had a close friend of mine texted me saying, hey, what about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Could they be a fit? And I thought, yes, they
don't want to go there yet.
But he did say he wants to go to a winner, and I don't think they're going to be there yet, right?
Yeah, he's got, like you said, 3-4 years of his prime receiving years left. Maybe not even that with his injury history. Yeah. So do you want to go to Jacksonville and maybe have 2 decent years with a team that's, only winning 5 or 6 times? No, you might as well stay in Atlanta at that point.
So I got Chargers, Mike's got the Titans. So bad news is for us, if he joins one of those teams, that's another AFC team to potentially worry about in the playoff picture. Going to our last topic of this episode, NBA playoffs are well underway. It's been very, very exciting to start so far. A lot of intriguing first-round matchups going on right now. Question we've got is, it's an interesting one, so we're probably going to have different takes on this one. Which NBA superstar is under the most pressure in the NBA playoffs?
This one might seem a little confusing, but I'm going with Kawhi Leonard. Okay.
Really?
Some people may think, well, Kawhi Leonard's been lighting it up. He's been, doing his all. But I think the pressure's on Kawhi because of what Paul George and the rest of that team is doing. I will give you some credit. You mentioned in the past how Paul George doesn't show up in the playoffs. It's certainly not looking like that right now. They're down 2-0 to Dallas, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Kawhi's shoulders. He's going to start seeing more doubles. Okay? He's going to see a lot more ball pressure, and he's probably going to have to play 45-plus minutes now the rest of the series. I think that's really wearing him. I think the pressure's really mounting on Kawhi to try and dig them out of this hole and, not have 2 disappointing playoffs in back-to-back years.
I disagree. I'm going with Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is the guy who's won MVP 2 of the last 3 years, led his team to the number 3 seed this year. His team was the number 1 seed the prior 2 years, in 2019 and 2020. That team in 2019 had a 2-0 lead on the Toronto Raptors. Don't get me wrong, we're Raptors fans. We're happy they won the championship, of course. One of the greatest things ever in our lives. But they had a 2-0 series lead on the Toronto Raptors and went on to lose 4 straight in the Eastern Conference Finals. So that was considered a very disappointing season for them. And then 2020, last year, they were the number 1 seed again, lost in the second round to the Miami Heat in 5 games. And now, with the way the Brooklyn Nets are looking, I think all the pressure's on Giannis Antetokounmpo. And not to discredit him, he's a great player, a top 5 player in this league. But if he wants to get up there with the guys, like you mentioned, Kawhi Leonard, who is a 2 times Finals MVP, 2-time champion, and LeBron James, who's a 4-time Finals MVP, 4-time champion. Kevin Durant's got a couple rings as well. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, 3 rings each. Giannis hasn't even been to a finals yet. So I think the pressure is really mounting on them and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, he might start to be known as that guy that doesn't do anything in the playoffs. Is he like the Alex Ovechkin of hockey, of basketball? Really good regular seasons, gets his team in, but then can't get them over the hump. So yeah, his track record has not been great in the playoffs, like you've mentioned. And I know he's still fairly young, but as the years goes on, he's going to be that guy that just come playoff time, team chokes all the time.
Yeah, and I definitely think just with him, if he wants to be considered one of the great players of not only this era but all time, you got to get at least to one finals, I would imagine, right? Because to your point, if people at the end of the day, when it comes to legacy, they remember who wins. They have a hard time remembering who was even the loser in the finals. So if they can't even get to a finals throughout his whole career, he's going to be more likely to be forgotten about, right?
Yeah, they're not going to remember, Milwaukee finished first in the East, how many years? Yeah, like the regular season accolades don't really mean a whole lot if there's no championship rings to go with it.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, though. Fans, be sure to tune into the NBA playoffs. It's very exciting. Of course, just a very exciting time in sports right now. Lots going on in the NHL playoffs, lots going on in the NBA playoffs. Baseball season's underway. Golf season's getting back into full gear. A lot of good things going on. So anyway, you've had enough of hearing about us today. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to follow us on our channels.
Yeah, thanks for the support. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Again, lots coming up to talk about. We're getting into, the meat grinder, as we say, of sports, and the summer's just heating up, so stay tuned.
Rick Taylor.
It wasn't Rick. It was Mick. Oh, yeah. It was Mick Taylor, yeah.